My name is Emma Collins, and at 33 years old, I thought I understood what betrayal looked like. I was wrong. Because betrayal isn't always someone stealing your money. Sometimes it's watching a gate agent look at you with pity before saying, "I'm sorry, ma'am, your reservation was cancelled 3 hours ago." I laughed. Actually laughed. There has to be a mistake. The woman turned her monitor toward me. Reservation holder, Vanessa Collins. Passenger, Emma Collins. Status, cancelled. Time of cancellation, 4:13 a.m. My older sister had booked our family vacation months earlier. 7 days at a luxury resort in the Caribbean. She insisted on paying for everyone, our mother, her husband Marcus, their 6-year-old twins Lily and Noah, and me. "Just let me spoil my family for once," she'd said. I offered several times to buy my own ticket. She refused every time. So why would she cancel only mine? I pulled out my phone. 3 missed calls from the hospital. 1 text from Vanessa. "You should be taking care of the kids." Before I could process the words, another image loaded beneath it. Lily and Noah. Sitting alone outside gate C18. Their tiny rolling suitcases beside them. Both wearing matching yellow hoodies. No adults. No luggage except their own. My stomach dropped. At that exact moment, my name echoed through the airport speakers. "Emma Collins, please report immediately to airport security." Everything inside me went cold. The security office smelled like stale coffee and disinfectant. 2 airport officers stood near the doorway. Lily looked up first. The second she saw me, she burst into tears and ran so hard she nearly slipped on the polished floor. "Aunt Emma." She wrapped herself around my waist with enough force to knock the air out of me. Noah didn't cry. He just stood there clutching his stuffed dinosaur so tightly its fabric claws were folded into his fist. An officer handed me a plastic evidence sleeve. Inside was a handwritten note. "Emma will pick them up. She knows what to do. Vanessa." No explanation. No apology. Just my phone number underneath. The officer spoke carefully. "The children were found sitting exactly where your sister left them about 20 minutes after boarding." I looked up. "Boarding where?" He exchanged a glance with the other officer. "I can't discuss travel details, but I can tell you, they left the country." Left the country. Without their children. Without telling me. Without asking. Lily tugged on my sleeve. "Mommy said she'd come back after vacation." I couldn't answer. Because something inside me already knew she wasn't coming back. The cab ride home was painfully quiet. Noah stared out the window. Lily kept asking if airplanes could turn around. Each question hurt worse than the last. When we reached my townhouse, they stood awkwardly in the hallway like visitors. Neither child wanted to unpack. They kept their little suitcases zipped. "They have to stay ready," Lily explained. "So Mommy can find us." I forced a smile. "Maybe let's put them in your room for now." She shook her head. No. That was the end of the discussion. The suitcases stayed beside my front door. I barely slept. At 6 the next morning my phone exploded. Voicemail after voicemail. Patients. Coworkers. My manager. I was supposed to start a 3-day emergency medicine conference in Chicago the following week. A conference that could finally qualify me for the trauma fellowship I'd spent 4 years chasing. Instead, I was making dinosaur-shaped pancakes for 2 abandoned children. Vanessa's social media updated that afternoon. A video. White sand. Crystal blue water. Marcus laughing beside her. Cocktails. Music. Caption. Family is everything. Red heart. Over 100,000 people liked it before dinner. I stared at the screen. Down the hallway, Lily had fallen asleep hugging the same yellow hoodie she'd worn at the airport. Noah quietly colored dinosaurs at my kitchen table. My sister wasn't panicking. She wasn't stranded. She wasn't asking about her children. She was on vacation. And she wanted the world to believe she had the perfect family. 3 days later, Child Protective Services knocked on my door. The caseworker introduced herself as Denise Harper. She wasn't surprised by anything she saw. She'd already read the airport report. She interviewed the children separately. Asked me dozens of questions. Checked every room in my townhouse. When she finished writing, she looked at me carefully. Has your sister contacted you since the text? No. What about money? No. Medical information? No. School records? No. She sighed. I was afraid of that. Before leaving, Denise stopped at the doorway. One piece of advice. What? Save everything. Every receipt. Every text. Every voicemail. Every social media post. You may need it. After she left, I bought a plain black notebook. On the first page I wrote. Day 1. Lily asked if airplanes could turn around. Noah hasn't smiled. I didn't know it then. But that notebook would one day decide the future of 2 little children. The first week taught me something no medical school ever had. Children don't stop loving a parent just because that parent disappears. Every morning, Lily rolled her little pink suitcase to the front door. Every evening, she rolled it back to the hallway. Mom said we always have to be ready. She never questioned it. Neither did Noah. He simply copied his sister. By Friday, I had stopped suggesting they unpack. Hope has its own schedule. I worked as an emergency room physician at Boston General. Saving lives came with long hours. Now it came with 2 first graders. Thankfully, my best friend Rachel, an ER nurse I'd worked with for nearly 8 years, volunteered to help. She arrived one evening carrying 3 grocery bags. I figured abandoned kid emergencies require lasagna. I actually laughed. The first genuine laugh I'd managed all week. Rachel noticed the suitcases immediately. They going somewhere? No. They're waiting. She didn't ask another question. Instead, she spent an hour helping Lily build a blanket fort while Noah showed her every dinosaur fact he'd memorized. For one evening, the house sounded like children lived there instead of grief. My mother finally called 9 days after the airport. I answered before the second ring. Mom, where have you been? Silence. Then, Vanessa told me you agreed to stay behind with the children. What? She said you volunteered. I closed my eyes. Of course she had. Mom sounded exhausted. I only found out after we landed. Landed where? Another pause. The Bahamas. So it wasn't just a vacation. They'd lied to everyone. When did you come home? This morning. Why didn't you call sooner? I didn't know what to say. I almost hung up. Instead, I asked the question that mattered. Did Vanessa ever ask about Lily and Noah? The silence lasted longer this time. No. Mom came over that evening. The children hugged her. She cried. For a moment I thought she finally understood what had happened. Until she said, "Emma, your sister has always been impulsive." There it was. The excuse. People make mistakes. I stared at her. Mistakes are forgetting birthdays. Mistakes are missing soccer games. Leaving your 6-year-olds alone in an airport isn't a mistake. Mom looked down at her hands. I just think. What? She must have had a reason. I looked toward the living room. Lily was braiding Noah's hair because she'd promised it made dinosaurs run faster. They've been here 9 days. Has your daughter called once? Mom couldn't answer. A week later I drove to Vanessa's house to collect the children's clothes. The neighborhood looked exactly the same. Perfect lawns. Perfect flower beds. Perfect appearances. Inside. Something felt wrong. The living room looked staged. Family photos still covered every wall. Fresh flowers still sat on the dining table. But upstairs, half the closets were empty. Every expensive handbag gone. Jewelry boxes gone. Marcus's office safe stood open. Completely empty. I frowned. Vacation packing didn't look like this. Moving did. Then I noticed the kitchen counter. A mountain of unopened mail. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. Mortgage default notice. Final demand. Tax lien. Past due. Past due. Past due. The last envelope came from the FBI. My pulse quickened. It wasn't opened. I didn't touch it. I simply photographed every envelope exactly where it sat. Something much bigger than abandonment had happened. The twins' bedroom broke my heart. Their clothes were still hanging neatly inside the closet. Favorite stuffed animals. School backpacks. Crayon drawings taped to the wall. Their parents had packed every valuable thing. Except the children. I stood there frozen. This wasn't a rushed decision. It had been planned. 4 weeks. Maybe months. The temporary guardianship hearing arrived faster than I expected. Judge Eleanor Brooks studied my paperwork quietly. The courtroom was nearly empty. Denise from Child Protective Services spoke first. The children have adjusted well under Dr. Collins' care. School attendance is perfect. No safety concerns. Parents remain outside the United States. The judge turned toward me. Dr. Collins. You're requesting temporary custody. Yes, Your Honor. You understand this may become permanent? My throat tightened. Until 3 weeks ago. I had planned to apply for the trauma surgery fellowship in Chicago. The acceptance deadline sat unread inside my email. A promotion. A dream. A completely different future. Now. 2 little faces flashed across my mind. Lily laughing because Noah accidentally glued his fingers together during craft time. Noah sleeping with the hallway light on. Their tiny suitcases still waiting beside my front door. I understand. The judge nodded slowly. Temporary guardianship is granted. The gavel struck. Just like that. My life changed. Again. That night I opened my laptop. The fellowship acceptance email blinked unopened. Rachel noticed it when she dropped off dinner. You earned this. I know. They'll understand. I know. You don't have to give up your future. I stared toward the hallway. Lily had finally done something different. For the first time. She hadn't rolled her suitcase back into the hallway. Instead, she'd placed it just inside the children's bedroom door. Only 3 feet away. It wasn't much. But it was the first sign that maybe, just maybe, she was beginning to believe she might be staying. I closed the laptop without opening the email. Some decisions didn't need to be made that night. But deep down, I already knew which future I was choosing. By the middle of July, our little townhouse had settled into something that almost resembled normal. Breakfast at 7. School summer program by 8. Hospital shift. Homework. Dinner. Bedtime stories. Repeat. Children like routines. Adults survive on them. The only thing that never changed was the suitcases. Every Sunday evening, Lily carefully folded fresh pajamas into hers. Noah added a different toy dinosaur each week. When I finally asked why, Lily answered without looking up. So Mommy won't think we forgot her. I couldn't find a reply that didn't sound like another broken promise. 3 weeks after the hearing, 2 federal agents showed up at the hospital. Not my house. The hospital. A nurse poked her head into the trauma room. Emma? There are 2 men asking for you. Both wore plain suits. One introduced himself. Special Agent Daniel Brooks. The other simply nodded. We're investigating Marcus Hale. My stomach tightened. They weren't asking about abandoned children. They were asking about money. We sat in an empty conference room. Agent Brooks opened a folder. Did your brother-in-law ever ask you to invest? Once. What happened? I asked for audited financial statements. He looked up. And? He laughed. The younger agent actually smiled. Anyone else in your family ask questions? No. Brooks wrote something down. Then came the question I wasn't expecting. Did your mother invest? I don't know. He closed the folder. If she did. She wasn't the only one. That evening I drove straight to my mother's house. She opened the door before I knocked. One look at my face. And she started crying. I was going to tell you. Tell me what? She slowly walked to the dining table. Opened a drawer. Pulled out a stack of investment statements. Marcus's company logo covered every page. I invested. How much? She whispered the number. 200,000. I forgot how to breathe. Mom. Where did you get that? She looked away. I refinanced the house. The house Dad spent 30 years paying off. The house he'd promised would always belong to her. Vanessa knew. Marcus knew. Neither stopped her. I warned you. The words escaped before I could soften them. 2 years earlier, during Thanksgiving dinner, Marcus had bragged about guaranteed returns. I'd questioned everything. Vanessa laughed. Marcus called me the family skeptic. Mom told me I worried too much. Now every warning had become reality. Mom folded into the kitchen chair. I thought I was helping everyone. No. They were helping themselves. That night my phone buzzed. Vanessa. Not a phone call. A voice message. Bright music played in the background. She sounded relaxed. Emia. I need a tiny favor. My lawyer says I need Lily and Noah's passports. Just overnight. Ship them to the address I'm texting. Oh, and stop being so dramatic. Click. That was it. Not. How are my children? Not. Are they okay? Passports. I replayed the message twice. Then deleted the text she'd sent with the address. The passports stayed locked inside my safe. The next morning she posted another vacation video. Boat rides. Champagne. Sunsets. Caption. Healing isn't selfish. Nearly 50,000 people commented about how inspirational she was. I muted her account. For the first time in my life. I stopped watching my sister perform. A few days later my attorney, Abigail Ross, called. I found something. What? The account that paid Lily and Noah's private school tuition. So? It wasn't your brother-in-law's personal account. It belonged to the investment company. I frowned. Meaning? Your sister had signing authority. But she always said Marcus handled the finances. Apparently. That wasn't true. That same week something happened at school. The principal called. There was an incident. When I arrived, Noah sat quietly in the counselor's office. Lily had been suspended for the afternoon. Apparently another child had repeated something he'd overheard at home. My dad says your mommy stole people's money. Before anyone could stop her. Lily punched him square in the nose. Hard. I signed the incident report. The principal waited for me to scold her. Instead, I knelt beside Lily. You know hitting isn't okay. Fresh tears rolled down her face. I know. But he said Mommy didn't want us. Those words hit harder than any punch. The drive home was silent. Halfway there Noah spoke. His first full sentence in weeks. Did Mommy forget us? I pulled the car onto a quiet side street. Turned off the engine. Then climbed into the back seat beside them. I held both children while they cried. Not because they wanted their mother. Because they finally understood she wasn't coming. That afternoon changed something inside me. Until then, I'd been caring for my sister's children. After that, I started thinking of them as mine. 2 days later another letter arrived. This one from Vanessa's attorneys. She was formally objecting to extending my guardianship. The letter described June 18th as a temporary childcare agreement between sisters. I read that sentence 3 times. Temporary? She had abandoned them in an airport. Abigail folded the letter shut. She's not trying to get the children back. Then why fight custody? Because as long as she remains their legal mother, it helps her image. And eventually, it may help her criminal case. I stared at the document. For Vanessa, even motherhood had become evidence to manage. And I realized something chilling. She wasn't protecting her children. She was protecting herself. By September, the investigation had stopped being rumors. It was front-page news. Every local station carried the same headline. Luxury investment firm under federal investigation. Marcus Hale's smiling face filled television screens across Boston. Vanessa wasn't far behind. Her social media accounts had gone silent overnight. No beach photos. No inspirational captions. Nothing. The silence somehow felt louder than all her posts combined. 3 days later, Agent Brooks called. They've frozen every account connected to the company. What about Marcus? We believe he and your sister are still in the Caribbean. And the children? They haven't asked about them. I wasn't surprised anymore. Life at home had become peaceful. Lily had stopped sleeping with her suitcase beside the front door. Now it sat just outside her bedroom. Noah finally invited a friend over after school. For the first time, laughter echoed through the house without sounding forced. Then one evening while we baked cookies, Lily looked up at me. Aunt Emma? Yeah? If I call this home. Mom won't be mad, will she? I had prepared for hundreds of difficult conversations as an ER doctor. Nothing prepared me for that one. I set the mixing bowl down. Kinds of homes aren't decided by buildings. They're decided by people who stay. She quietly nodded. That night, she unpacked half her suitcase. A week later, I received a certified letter. Vanessa wanted supervised visitation. Not because she had returned. Because her attorneys believed maintaining a relationship with her children would reflect positively during upcoming proceedings. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was unbelievable. Abigail shook her head. She's building a defense. Using 6-year-olds. Then came the call none of us expected. Marcus had been arrested while trying to fly to Panama using an expired passport. Vanessa surrendered 2 days later. Both were being extradited back to the United States. The case moved faster after that. Federal prosecutors announced charges including wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. More than 60 families had lost their savings. Among them, my mother. Mom took it the hardest. She stopped defending Vanessa. One evening she quietly admitted, I loved the daughter everyone admired. I forgot to see the daughter who was always there. Neither of us cried. We simply sat together while Lily and Noah chased bubbles across the backyard. Sometimes forgiveness begins with silence. October arrived. So did Vanessa. Not at my house. At the courthouse. She appeared thinner. Older. Still perfectly dressed. Still smiling whenever cameras pointed in her direction. She asked the judge for supervised visitation. The judge denied the request until psychological evaluations were completed. As we left the courtroom, she finally looked at me. Emma. I kept walking. You've made your point. I stopped. No. You did. A week later she appeared at my townhouse without warning. The twins were spending the afternoon with my mother. Vanessa knew exactly when to come. She stepped inside carrying a leather folder. I have a proposal. I didn't invite her to sit. She did anyway. She slid a document across my kitchen table. Consent for adoption. Already signed. My heart skipped. You'll never have to fight me in court. She smiled. You'll be there, Mother. I looked up. What do you want? She leaned forward. One statement. Tell the prosecutor I never abandoned the children. Tell them we planned it together. It was a misunderstanding. You say that. And this becomes easy for everyone. For one dangerous second, I looked at the adoption papers. Everything I wanted. No more hearings. No more uncertainty. No more waiting. Then I remembered two little children sitting alone outside gate C18. Waiting for someone who never came back. I slowly pushed the papers toward her. I'll earn them honestly. Not by lying. Her smile disappeared. You've always been jealous. No. I've just always been the one cleaning up your messes. She stood so quickly her chair scraped the floor. You'll regret this. I opened the front door. I don't think I will. She walked out without another word. I noticed she never once asked how Lily and Noah were doing. Not once. The prosecutor never asked me to become the hero of the case. He only asked me one question. What happened at the airport? I told him the truth. Every minute of it. The canceled ticket. The text. The children sitting alone outside gate C18. The handwritten note. Nothing more. Nothing less. Truth doesn't need rehearsals. Marcus pleaded guilty before the trial even began. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Bank records. Fake investor statements. Shell companies. Wire transfers. He accepted a 9-year federal sentence in exchange for cooperating. Vanessa didn't. She insisted she'd been just a wife. Then prosecutors produced documents carrying her signature. Dozens of them. She had approved transfers. Opened accounts. Authorized payments. Even the children's private school tuition had been paid directly from stolen investor money. Her own defense collapsed. One afternoon Abigail called. I have good news. I immediately feared there was bad news coming too. The state is filing to terminate parental rights. I closed my eyes. Why now? Because abandonment is no longer the only issue. She listed everything. The airport report. Months without contacting the children. Financial crimes. Failure to provide support. Attempts to manipulate witnesses. Every notebook entry I'd written. Every receipt. Every doctor's appointment. Every school conference. Every therapy session. You documented everything. You never knew you were building evidence. But you were. I looked at the worn black notebook lying beside my coffee mug. Nearly every page was full. Not of legal strategy. Just life. The hearing lasted less than 2 hours. Vanessa attended wearing another expensive-looking suit she probably no longer owned. She barely looked at Lily or Noah. Instead, she looked at the judge. At the lawyers. At the cameras outside. When the judge asked whether she wished to contest the petition, her attorney quietly stood. My client withdraws her objection. Just like that. Months of fighting. Ended in one sentence. The judge signed the order. Parental rights terminated. I didn't celebrate. I simply let out a breath I'd apparently been holding for almost a year. 3 weeks later, the adoption hearing took place. No reporters. No cameras. Just family. Rachel cried before the hearing even started. Mom squeezed my hand so tightly I almost laughed. The judge smiled at Lily and Noah. Do either of you have anything you'd like to say? Lily looked toward me. Then at Noah. Finally she smiled. We're already home. The courtroom became very quiet. Even the court clerk wiped away tears. The judge signed the final order. Congratulations. You're officially a family. Life slowly became ordinary. Exactly the way children deserve. Lily joined soccer. Noah became obsessed with dinosaurs again instead of courtrooms. Mom moved into a small apartment 15 minutes away. Every Tuesday she came over for dinner. One evening while drying dishes she quietly said, I spent years believing the loudest child needed the most attention. I was wrong. I smiled. You still made it. She nodded. I almost missed the best daughter I had. This time. We hugged. Vanessa eventually accepted a plea agreement. 30 months in federal prison. Restitution she would likely spend years trying to repay. She wrote several letters. Most talked about personal growth. Fresh starts. Second chances. None asked what Lily's favorite subject had become. Or whether Noah still slept with his dinosaur. That told me everything. I answered exactly once. The envelope contained only one photograph. The twins smiling on the first day of second grade. No note. No speech. Just the life she'd walked away from. One rainy Saturday, almost a year after the airport. I noticed something different. The 2 little suitcases were gone. I found Lily in her room folding clothes into her dresser. What happened? She looked at me like the answer was obvious. We don't need them by the door anymore. No ceremony. No announcement. Just quiet certainty. Together we carried the empty suitcases into the closet and placed them on the highest shelf. Then we closed the door. For good. Sometimes people ask me what it felt like to lose my career plans. The trauma fellowship. The promotions. The future I'd imagined. The truth? I didn't lose my future. I found a different one. One built around homework at the kitchen table. Movie nights on Fridays. Burnt pancakes on Saturday mornings. Soccer games. School concerts. Goodnight hugs. It wasn't the life I planned. It became the life I chose. And those are very different things. Because the greatest lesson my sister ever taught me wasn't how deeply family can betray you. It was that family isn't defined by the people who leave. It's defined by the people who stay.